Hello everybody, today we're going to have some fun coloring in our haunted house picture. So you're going to need today your colored pencils, your pencil sharpener, your oil pastels, and I just put this here so you can see which colored pencils I'm using today. But I like to put them in a cup because they're a lot easier to get to that way. I'm going to set my things off to the side, and the last of all, but not least of course, is you need your drawing of your haunted house. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put in the color pencil detail of the small areas of my house and my trees, my walkway, hill, outline the things that I did in pencil last time. But my moon, I'm going to be using oil pastels, and we're gonna do that last. So I'm setting these guys off to the side for just a moment. You are not gonna watch me color in the whole thing with colored pencil, but the guidelines are that you do want to outline all the lines on your house with your colored pencil, because we will be putting in watercolor on different areas of this later, in the big areas. We'll watercolor the path. We will watercolor the hill. We will watercolor the trees, the sky, and you could even watercolor part of the house into if you wanted to do that. Let's go ahead and get started. So, you can have some fun with this. You don't have to just choose traditional black, gray, brown for your trees and things. You could really just go for it and have some fun with it. I want to show you some different ideas of what you could do. So, first of all, with your trees, you want to think about the moonlight coming down. So I found a couple different browns here, a light and a dark. I'm going to use the lighter brown to outline where the light of the moon is actually touching my tree more. So you can see that light coming through and reflecting off of the branches and shining down on those branches. So I'm not going to be coloring in the whole tree with my colored pencil, but I wanted to show you some ideas for putting on maybe some bark and some lines to add texture and interest to your picture. So right now we're just sort of putting in some outlines of our tree. You get the idea. Okay, so as I work with my tree though, I come down. This is the side that the moon is on, so I use the light color pencil. And then as I go around, I get to the dark side of the tree. I could transition to the darker color pencil and then overlap where my light was so that I can see that nice blend. You can always overlap them too. And I put this more on the dark side. And it might look kind of funny at first because, why would you have dark branches on one side and not on the other? But this is actually going to help the eye discern the difference between what is hit by the moonlight and what is not. So on the side of the branches where the moon is shining, I put the lighter color. And then on the other areas where the light is not hitting as frequently, they're like this side, the underneath, the right-hand side and the underneath areas, that's where I'm going to put my darker color. We're also going to be adding some shadows to this later too. So you're gonna see. All right, so if you wanna pause right here and do both of your trees, you can go ahead and do that. If you're wondering about where the light would go on this, we would do the closest to the moon would be the lightest areas. So pretty much all these top branches. And as I get lower, the lower half branches are gonna be done with the darker color pencil. And if you were coloring this in with colored pencil all the way, you'd be using a lot more colors. You'd be using oranges and yellows, much more browns. You'd probably have a bigger color pencil set. I am gonna do my trunk and my roots down here with the dark, because this is the side that would have the shadow from the moon when you think about it. The shadow would be coming out on this side. But look at this, see these roots right here are on the moon side. So I would go over them lightly. I'm gonna outline my tree. Now earlier I mentioned doing some bark. I'm gonna come back over here. So I'm gonna put in with my dark half of the tree on the right half side, I could put in some bark lines. So everywhere I did dark color pencil, I'm not coloring it in, I'm just adding some extra lines in there to give it some visual interest. And then everywhere I have the light, I'm gonna put in some lighter bark lines like this. Just make it a little bit more interesting. You don't have to do this, but I don't recommend just coloring it in because you've done that already. You know how to color something in. I'm asking you to experiment and play with this idea. This isn't the final piece of work in your entire life. You know, this is just about experimenting with art materials and trying something new. I'm gonna put a little bit of light in the dark area to show transition, a little dark in the light, shows some transition, but I leave the dark definitely away from the lighter areas of the tree. So it's like a half and half, and it blends in the middle. So that's the idea behind the tree. Okay. Next, our path, whatever that's gonna be, I'm thinking of this as like a dirt path. So I'm going to think of it again as the thing that's farther away from me is dark. But as the path gets closer to me, and I can see it more clearly and the details on the path, I'm actually going to use the lighter color pencil on half of the path. And I blended it. You saw that I did dark the whole way. And I don't mind that it's kind of rough with my lines this way because it's a dirt path. Go in there with that light color. Get the idea. Keep it nice and dark. I might even take some black, just where it's really far away, just to show that it's in the distance and it's only a shadow to my eyes. I can't see any dirt details. It's just a black line because it is, that's it. That's just the shadow of the path back there. Okay, your hill. Think about what you're gonna do with your hill. Remember, it's nighttime. So if you did wanna do green, you would do it like a bluish green, like a really dark green. So I'm gonna take some green. Now, looking at that, yeah, that's a dark green, but it still seems a little bit too light for something so far away. And I want it to be a really cut edge. I want it to be a really clean line. Okay. It's not like a wishy-washy line. It's really just the hill. Then what you could do, and this is kind of a visual trick, you could use a navy blue, go in there over that green. Again, you're making it more visually interesting by layering colors. Why dark blue? Because dark blue is better than putting on black, because black is just gonna dirty it and really make it dark. It was okay to do with the brown, because black and brown are neutrals and they're so close together. But if you did that right here with black on green, then you're just gonna have black. So we wanna keep that color. We wanna retain some of that. All right, let's talk about the house. So how are we gonna outline the house? I'm gonna think about what color in the daylight these things would be. Like what color would the roof be? What color would the chimney be? And I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, chimney's red, a chimney is gonna be that. So I might mix brown and red because they're both warm colors and that would work together. Maybe the top of my chimney right here is cement. So I'm gonna use a gray color pencil right there. And you could color it in this particular instance because this is so small. So that's gonna be the rule that we follow. We're gonna color in things that are really small. Okay. A lot of my house is gonna be gray and black. So I'm going to make the major parts of the house outlined with black. And then the details I'm gonna outline with gray. And if there's something that I wanted to be another color, like red, you might wanna mix some red with the gray. You're gonna see in a minute the windows I'm gonna outline with some yellow because that's the light coming in. So the major outlines of areas, the outline of the house, outline of the roof, black. Okay. Outline of the windows, I'm gonna do gray. You don't have to do that, but it's just an idea. Now, how comfortable are you with your color pencils? Do you feel like you want to color in your windows with some yellow with your color pencils, or do you want to save that and do the paint with yellow in your windows? It's totally up to you. I'm going to be outlining my windows with the gray, and then I'm going to paint yellow in there later. Because it's big enough area, I feel like I can manage a paintbrush in this area. That's my plan. Okay, you get the idea. So, finish all of the major outlining of your house. If you've got some little white ghosties in there, you might want to color them in with white. And the reason why is because if you're painting in the window later with yellow, then if you get a little bit on your ghosty, this white wax from the color pencil will repel the paint and the water, and it will not stick, and your ghost will stay white. So that's kind of a fun trick. Same with the yellow. If you color yellow into there and then paint your house later, and you actually get some house colored paint in your window, if you'd colored that in with color pencil, that will repel the house paint color. If you just want to be very careful and paint that in, you can do that too. So you're going to finish outlining everything. If you've got a weather vane like me up here, definitely want to finish outlining that too. Okay, I'll finish it later. So we've got our basic idea. This will be painted, this will be painted, parts of the house are gonna be painted. Moon, let's talk about the last thing. The last thing is our moon, and we're gonna do that with colored pencils. We want to give the impression that the moon is a modeled kind of blurry visual, and you can do a yellow, a white, a gray, however you really want your moon to look. If you don't want it to be realistic, you could do an orange. Well, orange is realistic, you know, harvest moon. You could do an orange moon up here. You could do a red moon up here, because there are times, I know you've seen before, that the moon can look really reddish orange. So what are you gonna do? Think about what you wanna do. I'll go, you know, like a general one, and I'll do some gray. And what I'm gonna do is outline my moon with my gray. So if you wanted an orange moon, outline your moon with orange, outline your moon with red. The great thing about oil pastels is we can blend them together. So I could even do, like, you know, some craters if I wanted to. This whole idea, here we go. That is going to require a little bit more coloring, like sophisticated coloring in later. So I'm going to now lightly, can you see that I'm using the oil pastel really lightly just to fill in some area? And I don't need to fill in the whole thing because white to the rescue. This is going to be my blender. If you've ever used like a blending stick before and gone over, this is really cool. You can do this. I'm gonna keep my circles there, go over them. I'm gonna fill in the rest of the area with my blending white. And what it'll do is it'll just give the impression that this is a mass of blended oil pastel. It's the moon. If later I'm not super thrilled about how a part turns out, I go over it with some gray. And then I can go over it again with white. And you can just keep doing this layering until you get exactly what you want it to look like. And that's the idea. All right, fun. When we paint in the sky later, we'll be able to paint right over that moon. And if you've put oil pastel everywhere in the moon, then no paper is exposed and nothing is there for the paint to grab onto in your moon, and it'll just come out an oil pastel moon. And that's exactly what we want. All right, have fun with this. Finish your coloring. When we get together, we will paint.